All right, welcome back to the latest episode of the John Gill Podcast Show. We have a very, very special guest with us today. And before we go ahead and introduce our guest, let me just go ahead and thank our partner, Element Studios, el3mentstudios.com. Go ahead and check them out. They're a full-service media production company. They do amazing media production. And, so right now today, we have Leodus Thomas, the real estate investor and tech entrepreneur, and also a real old friend from a good friend of mine from Gordon Tech back in the high school days.
Late 90s.
Late 90s, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, Leodus, man, how are you? How you been?
Really good, man. How about yourself?
Dude, I'm doing great. Not as good as you, though, because, I what you told me earlier is you just got back from Mardi Gras.
Yeah.
So I know that you're feeling a lot better than I am.
I'm tired, though, man. Tired. Fresh off the plane. Had a crazy weekend.
I can imagine.
Parties literally all day, all night, man. It was an experience. My first time going to Mardi Gras.
Yep.
But I've been to New Orleans before, so it's like, it's already crazy, but Mardi Gras turned 10 times up.
Exactly. That explains all the beads that you got out of your pocket earlier today. I mean,
I got a ton of beads, man. I have a lot of beads, man.
All right, awesome. Well, Leodus, it's crazy. We hadn't really seen each other honestly since for a long time, and then we ran into each other at the real estate summit about a month ago. And what did you think of the event?
I thought it was all right. It was a little dry for me.
Yeah, right.
It was a little bit dry for me.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, man, I got up on a Saturday.
Yeah. I'm with you. And it was like today, right, with the snow, kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, but I try to go to as many of those as possible.
Absolutely. And we're going to get into that too, because I think it's a very important thing to mention that, especially being in real estate, there's a lot of importance about actually attending these events, right?
Yeah.
So
get a lot of good connections.
Yeah, but you know what? Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and just some of your background, your history, and how you kind of got into real estate?
All right. Well, I knew I always wanted to get into real estate, but I just thought I would be a little bit older than I was when I first did. So out of college, I had a couple of sales jobs I did well at.
Where'd you go?
Where'd I go to school?
Yeah.
Hampton University.
Oh, okay.
It's a historically black college in Virginia.
Nice.
So I don't know, we're known for...
So shout out to Hampton University.
Shout out to Hampton University, man. We're kind of famous for, Michael Vick's from that area,
okay.
Allen Iverson's from that area.
Nice.
You would see him walking around, and this is back when he was, like hot. This is back when he was, MVP.
That's awesome. That's crazy.
So and it was a blessing in disguise. After that, I worked for the Tribune for a little bit. I worked for Quest Diagnostics. I worked for, I worked for a sales outsourcing company in Evanston. So I did really well in sales. And the crash happened. So when the crash happened back in 08, 09, I was riding down the street with my mom. My mom was driving. We were going somewhere, I forgot. She was like, you should buy a house. I was like, wasn't even thinking that way. And she was like, houses are going for the price of cars now. Like, if you can buy a Toyota, you can buy a house. I was like, man, what? So I looked into it. I got outbid a couple of times. And then when I finally got into my first deal and the profits started coming in, I was like, I'm going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. And so I started with smaller buildings, and now I'm doing commercial.
That's amazing. So those first deals that you picked up, I mean, how did you source them? How did you fund them? How did you... explain the whole process, because someone who's looking to actually just finally pull the trigger on a property, I mean, there's a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety, stress. How were you able to just decide, okay, I mean, it just made financial sense? Was that kind of what was the deciding factor? Yeah,
the most important thing was credit. So people tell me, or they ask me all the time, what's the best way to get started. And I asked them, what's your credit? Some people say, I don't even know. I'm like, you need to know that, because to get started, you don't need as much money as you think to get started. But your credit needs to be really good. You don't want to give anybody an excuse to turn you down. And that's the first thing they're going to look at. And so, I tell people credit, then money after that. And then you need a good team. You need a good broker. You need to know the process. You need to know your options and what your goals are, because some people go into it, I want to flip. They don't even know like that you can make a ton more money doing other things. They don't even know flipping because of the shows, and they've never renovated anything. I'm like, you've never even remodeled a bathroom, but you want to remodel a house, right?
Right.
Because you saw it on TV, and so actually they're going through hell, but the TV makes it look easy. So I always advise buy something finished first. You're gonna have your hands full with that.
So the first property that you picked up, that was a finished project?
Right.
Okay.
It was somebody else's flip.
Okay. So it was more than just a management play, something that just kind of made sense. The price was right.
Right.
And then that allowed you to build momentum.
Right.
And go into some more deals.
Right. That's right.
I see. Interesting. And how was that management experience? What were some of the biggest challenges you faced right off the bat?
Man.
Because reality hits hard, right? Like, you think you're going to make this amount, then the pipes might burst or repairs kick in. I
think I was lucky. So with the property I was at, I was on the west side. I sold it like a year and a half ago.
Oh.
My first deal. I put Section 8 in the apartments, right?
Nice.
So I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And people with vouchers just approached me. So I was like, all right, that's fine. Put them in there, and everything went smooth for like a year. Like, I didn't have any kind of problems. I you know what? I needed one return line. There was a return line that wasn't installed into something. But I come from a construction family, so it wasn't a big deal to get that taken care of. It was like wonderful for the first year. And then I got into 2 more after that, and they were wonderful too. And then after, I want to say about 2 years in, that's when I had like my first failures.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I was blessed in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you bought at the right time. So despite any sort of issues that arose, I mean, you had the market, picking up. And so some of that equity helps the compensate also. But, I think, and that's great, because what I always tell everyone is that you might want to reserve a little bit of cash on the side just for any repairs.
A little bit.
A lot,
as much as you can.
right? Exactly. But it sounds like it went well for you. So, and now so for those that don't know, can you explain exactly what Section 8 is?
So it's a financial, well, I'm trying to think of the right words. It's basically an assistance program,
right,
for low income.
Okay.
So you'll have someone that has a job, doesn't have a job, might be disabled. They get on the waiting list and they get chosen for this program, and they get assistance with their rent. They can go from getting all of their rent paid, or they only have to pay a small portion, like $100, $200, to some people paying almost $1,000. Just depends on what tenant you pick. But
I see.
Yeah, but the government is helping out.
That's
so
perfect.
You have a certain amount of money that's guaranteed to come to your account every month. But you have to
Makes sense.
Yeah, but you have to keep the hardest part about dealing with them is like their inspections can be kind of petty. And so if you're not familiar with it, it can drive you crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we just recently had an inspection. It was a laundry list of items, and I looked, and it was just a little bit of a paint was kind of missing from the corner from the side of a door, because obviously, you open it and close it, it starts to deteriorate a little bit, and I got hit for that.
Yep.
So
sounds like them.
Yeah, exactly. But so choosing between, well, it has its challenges, but I think the security, knowing that it was coming through consistently.
Right.
And is that paid each, on the 1st of the month, on the 5th of the month?
First. Definitely the first, no matter what. Got
it. And how, okay, and they solicited you, right? I mean, you didn't really advertise anywhere? They just kind of...
Well, I put ads on Craigslist and stuff.
Okay.
I actually hired a broker in the beginning, too. And they pushed it for me. I wouldn't do that again, but because I feel like I wasted a lot of money. Like, if you know what you're doing, like, you can save a lot of money.
Sure.
Like, not having to pay a broker.
What did you pay first month?
Yeah. But you do stuff that you don't know that you shouldn't do. I did that when I didn't know any better. People still approach me now. Like, I'm like, nah, I'm not a rookie anymore, man.
Yeah,
you can't. Yeah. Like, no, I'm not paying you that. Or I'll give you this. If you bring me somebody good, I'll give you this. Excuse me. But but that's it. So I had brokers finding tenants like that for me.
And so how do you, the non-Section 8 tenants, how do you go about actually doing the application process for them? I mean, do you look at credit, income?
Yeah. So
For someone who's looking to lease out their units for the first time, what do you recommend?
the first thing I recommend is making sure that they don't have any evictions or eviction filings. So if you
Ring
have
the bell. I think no, we don't have that sound effect yet, but soon we'll have one.
if you have, man, when I was a rookie, I made that mistake. I didn't know. Like,
Oh, so you leased out without even checking credit?
no.
Oh,
I did
okay,
check credit,
okay.
but if you had like an eviction filing or something, right?
Yeah.
See, you're still new, so you're like, oh, maybe they were right, or maybe they did, they weren't at fault because it's just
Because
filed,
they have
right?
such a great story to back up why they got evicted. The prior landlord was a scumbag.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Slum landlord, this,
Sure.
that, and the third. So I fell for that. Ended up having to evict them. So those people out there who are getting into it, don't rent to anybody who has evictions or filings, because there are a million and one ways for the tenants to get out of being evicted. So, and they're gonna come to you with a really good story, and it's gonna sound good, but don't go for it. They're gonna get you too.
Those are called professional tenants, almost,
Yeah.
right? The ones that
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I had recently, I had a person who had a scam going. So her credit was like over 700. So, if you're, I don't know, I'm on the west side, so many people they come across my desk, don't have 700 credit scores, right? Some people do, but most people don't. So what her scam was that she would dangle her 700 credit score in your face. But what would happen was she knew how to get into your unit, stop paying you, and then stranglehold you into sealing the record so that the next landlord she's going to get won't see that there was an eviction filed.
Oh, no kidding.
So she would get out of it and not have to, her credit wouldn't take a hit or anything. She would just move from place to place every 6 months and not pay anything.
So what was her excuse? Would she just basically say, oh, there's, tons of problems with the unit, I'm going to report you?
No, nope. Because with me, she had no problem. Like, her unit was really nice. And she just was like, when she didn't have her rent, she told me, I'm not paying you, and you're going to seal it, and I'm going to leave, and nothing's going to happen to me.
Wow, just like that.
Just like that. So
The
this
audacity,
this was a person that
My
knew.
God.
Right? And so I can be petty. She didn't know me. Like, I'm the type of person, like, have I taken L's? Yeah, I've taken L's. We all have. You have to. Michael Jordan has taken L's, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But when you talk to me like that,
It's disrespectful.
it's disrespectful. And I said, look, man, I don't care if it costs me $10,000. I don't care. I'm going to get you.
Beautiful.
You're
I
not
love
going to do
that.
this anymore.
I love it. I love when
She paid
justice
me.
is. Oh, she did.
She had to agree to pay me I think it was like 90% or something like that.
And were you able to get the eviction on her?
It's still
credit?
there.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Because she didn't know. A lot of people.
I love when stuff like that happens. Justice, especially with some tenants that just, for some reason want to. There's bad landlords out there. Don't get me wrong.
There are.
But
right.
but when you're a good landlord and you're doing things right, and you have a tenant that's just trying to be a complete, take advantage.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Unfortunately, with me, so I don't walk around with a shirt and tie all day, right?
Uh-huh.
Suit and tie all day. So people assume that I'm one of those landlords that, I'm barely getting by. No, I'm doing pretty well. So
Sometimes it's better to not have a shirt and tie. I'm telling you.
sometimes it is, but
Yeah.
sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Like, so who I come across, I might have a little bit better luck if I say, oh, like you own the building or something. They'd be like, oh. So I can't really screw him around because he probably has the resources to find me or whatever. But they find out real quick. I have a lawyer. I have an animal for a lawyer. I'm not going to court. You're going to court. And I know exactly what I'm doing. And I wouldn't even be taking you to court if I wasn't 100% sure that I'm going to win.
Absolutely.
Or I try to work it out with you outside of court.
Absolutely.
That's just how I am.
That's amazing. And, yeah, I mean, those sort of circumstances will arise. I think, even sometimes when you're buying a building for the first time, you're presented that the tenants are a certain way. And then when you acquire the building, they stop paying. I mean, that's happened sometimes with buildings that I've purchased. And it kind of just leads into a long, process. But it's good to know that, like you said, there are, as long as you're doing things the right way and you're presenting, proper 5-day notices,
Right.
You're following proper procedure, I think you're going to be all right.
Yeah,
right?
I agree. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about some of the other deals that you've done and how you kind of segue into the whole tech industry.
Well, so I went from smaller buildings, 4 units to 3 units to the, 8s and the, 16s and stuff. Just by being around different investors and different loan officers that kind of will take you under their wing and show you how to get the real money. You think you're making money, then you see them. And I know guys with like 1,000 units,
Wow.
And you kind of observe them and you see, I don't know, how to grow. Like part of growth is knowing how to keep tenants out of your pocket and how to save money through every aspect. And I don't know, have your systems tight. Make sure that when you run the credit, you know exactly what you're looking for. When it comes to character, you want a certain presentation. If you go by, it's like the Patriots, right? You're a football fan?
I watch just the Super Bowl.
Okay. All
So
right.
probably not, but
Well, with the Patriots, they always have the same kind of players. Like that's why they win all the time, or they used to.
Right.
But they want a particular player, this height, this weight, can run this fast. May not be a great player on this team, but this is what goes on our system. So as long as you just replace everybody with the same people, your system is gonna, keep going.
That's
and so
amazing.
just develop that. Take time to develop that, and then you'll flourish that way.
So you know what? Actually, you brought up a great point. And before we get into the tech part, the transition from the 3 units to the 4 units to the 8 units, what was the biggest obstacle that you've encountered? Basically, as far as financing, as far as sourcing the deals, I know that you said that some loan officers, took you under your wing, but the jump from the 2 flats to the 3, because there's a lot of people in that kind of mix where they want to just go ahead and finally get to that bigger level. How did you do it? You found the deal, but how did you then? I mean, what lenders did you go to? What kind of down payment requirements did you need?
In my experience, smaller banks work well, like bigger. And, I'm kind of in the moderate to low income housing areas. So a lot of banks are scared of those. So you have to build a relationship with smaller banks that need the business or want the business.
So you're not going to want to go to Chase Bank or Bank of America.
You can, but I that wasn't the best luck for me.
Right.
So I would advise to someone you can walk in their office and say, look, this deal is going to work because of this, and this. And they'll be more prone to listening to you.
Yeah, and I've mentioned that actually before on the show, where the importance of building relationships with smaller banks. So I love that you brought that up. How important has that relationship been as far as ease of financing?
Well, it can work in your favor, but sometimes it can not work in your favor.
Okay.
So I was about to mention, man, you could have some haters out there too, man. You put your balance sheet on the desk and have somebody, and they for some reason don't want to see you win, and they can give you a hard time. And that's happened to me a lot.
Really?
Oh yeah.
You're kidding me. So what happened? You just say, here's our Schedule E, and this is what it is, and they still give you the hard time?
Yeah. Yeah. Because of area, because they may not think I'm up for it or up to it.
Well, I think it's also, like you said, I mean, historically with some of these lenders, like you said, redlining used to be a big problem with financing. Where,
used to be.
Or still is, right? I mean, where you have certain areas where they just will not lend, and that's a reality. So that's why you had, some of these better banks. Like, in fact, at the conference, Shore Bank was one of the really good banks out there before they, closed up shop. But so when you do find, though, one of these smaller banks that will lend in certain areas, I mean, definitely you want to go all in. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you want to build a relationship with a loan officer that wants to see you win. I mean, I've been blessed to, have a few guys that were in my corner, and they kind of, they had my back, so
That's
I was
awesome.
able to get some deals out.
And the importance of relationships, right?
Super important.
What about for the real estate deals? I mean, did you source them through the MLS? I mean, were they just kind of broker relationships, off market?
A mixture of both.
Okay.
So In the beginning, I was finding all of them on the MLS. So it's like, as I'm sure you know, once you're in, you're in.
Right.
If you're out, you're out. So
explain that, please.
yeah. So when you're in the game, you have.
I love this, by the way, because this is real Chicago investor talk right here. You're not going to hear this anywhere else. This is how deals actually get done, and I like that you're explaining this.
Before I had access to deals off market, I mean, I was just going by the MLS, and then after some years go by, and you're proven that you can, make some deals, and that your financing will go through, then people start coming to you with things, and you're like, where is this on the MLS? This isn't on the MLS. Oh, this person needs to move, or this person needs to get this done. Can you do it? You're interested.
Mm-hmm.
And
it just grows from there.
Yeah.
So did you do any other sort of marketing, or is this just kind of mainly referral type?
In terms of what?
As far as sourcing deals.
No marketing. Nope. Just like one-on-one stuff, like just going to different networking events, people that know you, and they know you're not scared of a particular area. Mm-hmm. So someone might want to get rid of something, and they're like, oh, I know a guy who might want this.
Interesting.
So they call you. And
you make it work.
I'm like, I'll take it. Not for this.
Right.
But I'll take it for, I'll give you this for it. So sometimes I go for it. Yeah.
So that's another important topic, the importance of actually submitting offers and not being shy about the price that's being presented to you versus the offer that you make. Explain that a little bit more in detail, because you're presented a specific price, but
right.
You're not afraid to submit an offer that's a little bit substantially lower if it's
I have
if you have a basis for it.
Yeah, I have a formula.
Okay.
And I have to make a certain amount, and the risk has to be a certain amount. And if it's too much, it's too much. You could love it, you could love the way it looks, but you can't fall in love with that.
You cannot fall in love with deals. Absolutely
right.
not.
You can't fall in love with deals based on how they look or how you look. It's on the corner, it has this brick, whatever. The best wife for you might not be the best looking girl. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it depends on. Yeah. So I mean, just saying, like, if you look for the best looking person, best looking thing all the time might not be the best thing for you.
Got it. And then the other thing too is, so when you're underwriting a deal, does it have to make sense on the equity or on the cash flow, or both?
Both, to me. More so cash flow for me.
Okay.
But equity, I try to get both.
So explain to the audience, what is cash flow exactly? Is it just your rents, your total rents? Is it your, after expenses?
After expenses for me.
Okay, yeah. And
it has to make sense. I'm not doing this for nothing.
Exactly.
I got to see it from day one. I can't see it from year 3. You know what I mean? No.
Exactly. Well, that's interesting that you mentioned that, because I always see that too. Some people just look at the cash flow, and to them that's a great deal, but I feel like the equity has to be there in order for you to have some cushion. Mm-hmm. And let's say you want to be able to sell at some point, you want to have that liquidity,
or if you need to get out of it right away, you need to be able to get out of it.
Exactly. So it seems like, then most of these are you're holding on to, you're selling, you're refining, cashing out, or how do you handle the portfolio right now
in terms of like
your real estate holdings? Are you looking to just do an exit, or do you buy just with the expectation that you are, though, going to keep for your rental portfolio?
I'm going to keep it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it. I don't have any kids yet.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give it to them, when
That's
I have
awesome.
my future kids, yeah. So then they, by the time it gets to them, they won't have to necessarily do anything. You know what I mean? They're going to just be able to live off it if they want.
That's awesome.
That's what I like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about your tech entrepreneurship ventures.
All right.
You mentioned earlier that you're something really interesting. In fact, when we were right before we recorded, you showed me the app, and that is awesome.
Thanks.
Can you tell the audience exactly how you got into that?
So I got into
and what it is.
Yeah. So I was I had a buddy who was an exterminator, and he and I were supposed to have a business. We're gonna be partners. I was gonna put up the money, and he had the license and the know-how, and I know a lot of landlords, so I was gonna, we were gonna, give decent or good extermination services to commercial property and stuff like that. So when it was time to buy the insurance, he pulled out. And I really wanted to get into another business. That day I was at the barbershop, and I had, he's not a friend of mine anymore, but
Yeah, he left you hanging. Screw him.
no, I mean, it was a guy.
I'm just kidding.
It was a guy who owned the barbershop. We were kind of friends,
Okay.
and he needed more clients coming into his new shop, and he was trying to figure out how to get new people to come in who were from the area who may not have known that he was there. And so I came up with the idea right there about, at first it was going to be a website, and then I want to say this was about 7 years ago. I was like, everything's going towards apps and phones, so we should come up with an app where people can promote their work on this app and get new customers that way and clients. So that's how I came up with it.
Interesting. And then, I mean, because that's a totally new industry outside of real estate, how were you able to, what did you do? Was the first step there, you just kind of reached out an app developer? And
I reached out to hundreds of them.
Okay.
So it was, I didn't know it was that hard to find somebody to develop an app or develop a site. I was like, wow, this is crazy. I didn't know anybody. Like, it was one of those businesses with real estate. You can ask people, like.
Yeah, there's a ton of real estate guys out there, right?
You can ask different people. But with this, nobody knows anything, unless they're in the game. And then if they're in the game, they're not going to just break it down to you.
Right.
So.
Or they're in Silicon Valley.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, it's going to cost you $1 million to get into this, and it's going to cost this much, and da-da-da. And that's not for you. I was like, nah, it can't be. Nah, it's got to be a way for me to get in this. Like, and then I started breaking down like how I could make money and how they make money, how people who are tech entrepreneurs make money. I was like, man, I got to get a piece of this. So it took 2 years of looking at different developers and designers and stuff before we picked one. And we had the idea, developed, and we're going on 4 years strong now.
That's amazing. Well, and it's awesome that you mentioned that, because we're actually going to be hosting here at our studio a meetup where we're going to be bringing in different tech investors and basically just creating a tech hub. So as you know, we're going to have our first on Thursday, and please, if you can make it, that would be amazing. Awesome. Well, going back into real estate, what are if you can give 3 lessons that have taught you the most about real estate management that you would recommend someone not do, what would that be?
Not to do it
I mean, give us 3 great pointers that you think for management.
Okay.
That stand out.
Get a reliable handyman.
Okay.
That's like, and pay him. Don't try to keep.
That sounds important.
Don't try to keep the money in your pocket. Like, pay him well.
Okay.
Because that's gonna make or break you. Somebody who will go over there, if you're paying them well, and the heat goes out at 1 a.m. and they know they got some money coming, they're gonna go over there for you. You don't have to get out of the bed.
What you said is so crucial, because you get those calls sometimes, and
I got them in when I was in New Orleans.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Heat went out. I was like,
well, that's,
I was
it's always
like, I was having
vacation.
drinks, and I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So I'm calling, I called, but it got taken care of.
It got taken care
of.
One
call.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So there it is. Okay. Number 2.
Don't pay too much for something. Like, know your numbers, know your finances.
I love that, because rule number 1 is pay them. Number 2 is don't pay so much.
Right. Don't pay so much for the buildings. Right now is not a good time to buy, in my opinion.
Okay.
I feel like you can't make any money right now.
Okay.
And that's why I think a correction is going to happen.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, a lot of people are talking that. Yeah, it's going to happen. We'll see.
And
now, don't pay so much just for the real estate, or also don't pay so much for repairs that it's important to bid out as well.
Sometimes you don't have a choice, though, right? So if you have a good plumber, man, you got to pay. They're going to demand the money. So you got to pay. It depends on what the problem is, though. Don't pay too much for small problems. Like, I've seen people hang a door and they charge like $300 to people who didn't know. And I was like, you paid them how much? I paid them this. I'm like, oh, man, they saw you coming.
Yeah.
So you have to know what stuff costs. Like, do your research. And a lot of different people can do different things.
Okay.
So it's good to have knowledge on that. And then I would say
Number 3.
number 3.
We need a drum roll on the sound effects here. I would love to have like a you know?
Get your legal right. Make
Okay.
sure you have a good lawyer, because and be advised on what you can and can't do, because there are things that you might think like for a 30-day notice, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're aware that you have to give that a day before the 1st, right?
Oh, you can't give it on the 2nd or the 3rd.
No.
Okay.
Like if you do that, you have to wait 2 months as opposed to 1, or 1 month and 2 days or something.
So explain what the 30-day notice is.
The 30-day notice is a notice that you're not going to renew a lease, and that you're giving the tenant 30 days to find a new place to live.
Okay, so we are about to approach March.
Right.
Okay, and their lease expires at the end of March, let's say.
Right.
And you want to place, you don't want to extend that lease.
Right.
If you provide that 30-day notice on March 1st,
Too late.
it's too late. So
Right.
it has to be on the day before.
Right.
Interesting. Okay.
So I didn't know that. My lawyer, like I closed on a building one
I
time on the
don't think
15th.
a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, most people would think, what? Like,
Yeah.
the 1st is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Nope. If you go to court and you gave them that 30-day notice on the 1st, they're going to throw it out.
I love it. I love it. This is such important advice for anyone listening right now.
But it's a lot of things that there are a lot of things legally that you like little caveats that people don't know.
Yeah.
So you have to study that. You have to have a good lawyer who's going to advise you, so that you don't make mistakes that can cost and will cost you a lot of money.
Another thing is, do you take, and by the way, all great pointers. Those were 3 awesome pointers that I think, definitely stand out. And honestly, those are the same ones that I'd probably have said, minus the 30-day notice. That's a good one. The other issue I wanted to bring up is, how do you handle tenant complaints? Is that something that goes through? Do you handle them directly and then you just kind of send them out?
Sometimes I have a person I work with who answers the phone. I used to take them all. Like I would say, if you're just starting, you should take them all.
Yeah.
To learn. One thing I learned about that was you can't give people all access to you all the time. So have an alternate number. Don't give people your personal number, because they'll call you at 10 p.m. talking about, oh man, my doorknob's loose on my closet. They'll call you. They don't care.
Unbelievable.
So you don't want to have that, and you have to learn to tell people no.
Mm-hmm.
Like if someone does something, man, like why did you do that? Why is this like that? Don't be afraid to charge. Like if you keep clogging up your toilet, I'm not paying for that. You're paying for that. And guess what? If they know coming in that they have to pay for it, guess what? It's not gonna happen that often.
Interesting. So how do you do that? You just let them know right off the bat. Like here's, if this happens and it's your fault, this is the fee.
Yep.
Wow.
You put it in the lease.
Interesting.
Tell them this is how much it'll cost if you do this. You get locked out, it costs this.
Mm-hmm.
With me, I'm cool about it. Like if you lock yourself out, I'll come in if I'm around, or I'll send somebody to let you back in. But man, if you're doing it 3 times or you're doing it once a month, I gotta start charging $50, man.
Absolutely. I mean, come on, get their act together, right?
Just know going in what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And keep everything tight.
Yeah. Do you take move-in fees or security deposits?
Yeah, it's too easy for tenants to sue you for security.
Okay.
And a lot of them.
So let's explain that. Next topic: security deposits versus move-in fees.
All right.
Because that's its own chapter. Explain.
I take move-in fees. It's not, the tenant knows it's not rent. They don't try to use it as rent. They don't try to, low lifes. Oh, I'm living out my security. Like there's no, security is not rent, dude. So, and they can't sue you. So like with security deposits, if you guys don't agree that they clean the apartment, or that the apartment is nice enough, or that the stuff is itemized properly, then they can try to sue you and they can make it hard for you. But if you have a move-in fee, there is no discussion. It's just, this is mine, and that's it.
So the move-in fee is also collected at the start of a lease sign up. So
I take them to hold apartments.
Okay.
So if I accept your application, I need it within 24 hours.
And typically I know that every landlord charges a different move-in fee.
Right.
Is that like a 1 month? Is that half month?
I try to do half a month. Yeah.
Half months? Okay. And non-refundable, obviously?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. I see that becoming more of a trend across the city, especially because as not landlords, but as tenants get a little bit more savvy, they try to use that to their advantage. And I've seen horror stories where if you don't handle the security deposits correctly, you can get sued for, I don't know, 3 to 6 times the amount of the.
I think it's like 3 times. Yeah.
Oh, it's
plus,
3 times.
Plus the first month's rent. Happened to me.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Please go into detail on that.
I mean, I just didn't put it into the account properly. Like when I was smaller, a lot smaller, and I didn't even know. You know what I mean? That's why I say it's important to have a lawyer and that tells you, no, man, you got to put it like this.
So they sued you for 3 times the amount?
And they were all the way wrong. All the way wrong.
Unbelievable.
Didn't pay me, tore the place up. I had to pay them.
That is the reality of being a real estate investor and the reality of owning real estate. If you don't know this, you should.
Yeah.
And that's actually the reason why we're setting up these podcasts. It's to educate the audience, and I'm glad, you sharing all of those experiences because, what you've just said here today is going to basically save someone tons and tons of headaches and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So amazing. Now, aside from real estate, what else you got going on? And it seems like you got a lot of stuff going on these days with the real estate and the tech.
Man, besides that, man, I'm just traveling.
Yeah.
That's it. Just traveling and just trying to relax, just trying to live my life.
There it is.
Yeah, man.
Well, next time you go to Mardi Gras, man, come on, you got to let me know.
Yeah, I will.
Please.
For sure,
you
got to go,
having
man.
all the fun.
I don't know. You might not be up for the fun I'm having. I don't know.
Well, we'll
I'm
see.
hanging, man. I'm hanging, man.
That's awesome.
Maybe so. I'll definitely let you know, though. You'll like it.
Oh, exactly. No, I hear you. Well, look, before we sign off, though, I do want to just quickly shout out again our partner, Element Studios. That's EL3 MENT Studios. Again, they're a full-service media production company. Go ahead and give them a shout. And Leodus, man, it's been great having you on the show today.
Thanks for having me, man.
And this isn't going to be your last time.
Okay.
We're gonna continue to have you back on the show and just track all your new real estate holdings.
Awesome, man. Sounds good. Thank you.
Oh, one last thing before we go though. If anyone's looking, you said earlier, and this is a point that I wanted to bring up, it is getting more difficult to find deals today.
Yeah.
So what do we do? I mean, what is the solution to finding a deal today? Are you looking outside of Chicago? Should we just kind of hold off?
Should wait. Gotta wait, man. If you just have to be patient. Like I learned that too. I used to push a lot. You have to be patient to find the right deal. Like you do.
Really?
Yeah.
Just patience. Patience is a virtue, absolutely.
Everything's high, man.
Yeah.
Like so the last thing you want to do is get yourself into something you can't get out of. And that's what's happening to a lot of people. Like I'm seeing people who paid double what I paid 2 years ago.
Wow.
For the same building on the same block. Double
is unbelievable.
They're not patient.
And those were, say, distressed deals, right? So you're paying the same amount of money for the same type property that needs the same amount of work.
No, well, theirs need work. Their building
finished,
might need work, right? But mine was in great shape.
Oh, wow.
And they're paying the same.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, like I've seen that.
Yeah, so I do definitely feel that we're kind of reaching a point in this market that it's starting to get a little crazy.
Yeah, man.
I'm with you.
It's crazy. Like I'm seeing, I'm like, you're paying that with my smaller buildings. You'll give me this? Okay. Let's do it.
Interesting. Well, look, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, talk some tech, talk some real estate, what's the best way to reach you?
Reach out to me on Instagram at Tech Executive. That's TEQ Executive, all one word. You can email me at info@ivorypartners.com.
info@ivorypartners.com.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, Leodus, man, it's been great. We're going to have to talk off the air a little bit more about the Gordon Tech Days.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
there's going to be a few guys from Gordon listening to this,
Oh, yeah.
too. We've got to represent Gordon Tech.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So,
For sure.
all right. Well, thanks again. I appreciate it. And it's been great. So we'll see you on the next podcast episode.